we still have to have a truck to go around and pick up all the recyclables, right?
You can put them in a compactor truck, you just don't compact it.
You just don't compact it?
That's right. You dump it on the floor and the commingled bag system.
I'm lost. Where's the savings of buying a compactor if we don't use the compactor?
No, the compactor's for the garbage.
Right.
Right.
I'm saying we still have to have another truck to go around and pick up the recyclables, right?
Either that or you can use the same compactor truck. It's what's similar to
Okay,
what.
but we still have to have
Separate
trips.
Two trips.
Right.
2 trips.
One
That's what
truck,
I'm
2
saying.
trips. That's right.
Okay.
Have you got the cost of dumping in these numbers?
The cost for dumping would remain the same whether you're doing it.
Okay, so we're not gonna save any money either way.
Well, I think you will save money if depending on which
Not if
route
I
you
gotta
go
run
to.
that truck down there and dump it, and then I gotta pick up 5 days a week, right? 4 days? With a compactor, we'd have to go 4 days, wouldn't
Not necessarily.
we?
No.
You can't have a very big one to make it work right, because big ones just destroy the world.
Right. We do not pick up in one day enough garbage to fill the compactor truck at this point. And that's not to say it wouldn't happen in the future.
Well, why did you say we'd have to go 2 days a week? Was that one for the recyclable and one for garbage?
Now, what we were looking at was having to run to the landfill, which is 2 to 3 hours trip, round trip. There is a possibility of being able to use the convenience center. And
I'm confused. If you use a compactor truck and you say that we don't have enough garbage now that would fill up a compactor truck, then why do we have to, then we go dump it. Why would we have to go 2 days?
as I said in the beginning, we still need to work on some details, but
Sounds like it.
Yeah, but what you do is
worst
buy a
case
truck
scenario
for a
is if we
certain
had a July 4th, what we have to plan for is a July 4th week. Our water system, our sanitation system, we have to plan for the 3,000 or 4,000 people that are in town. And what I can't sit here and tell you is that we can guarantee you that we can get all one day's garbage in a sanitation truck on one route.
I understand that on a special week.
What I would rather tell you is that we might have to go to a
every
2-day.
week, 52 weeks a year, Ron, when you were talking, is what I took it to mean.
No, sir. Only during the summer, June and July, would we maybe have to go to 2 days.
Okay, I understand now.
Because
You said that in the beginning, it would
Well,
have
I'm
been a lot
sorry.
easier, I'm sorry.
it was
My
in,
bad.
It was in here.
Well, how do you buy, when you buy a compactor truck, they tell you how many tons it can handle? Is that what we're working on?
Yes, sir.
In yards, yes.
Cubic yards?
Converts to tons. We wouldn't get the smallest one, we'd have to get a middle-sized one, which would haul 12-yard truck,
Yeah.
which will, most of the time, the figures we looked at in the past would carry that amount
Now,
in one day.
but that truck will only be good for sanitation, is that correct?
For that day.
No, I mean, I'm talking, the truck we use now, we pick up other things with it, right? Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
So now, if we get a compactor, then we gotta have another truck that's gonna be doing the other work. And the compactor's gonna be sitting over here, just idling away. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. What I'm saying is, there are two trucks when you buy a compactor. And you gotta have a backup truck in case the compactor goes down.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so, my thought is we're not gonna do compactors. I don't know.
Do you want to present them all, or I have more questions too, but how do you want to?
We use them all.
Okay.
Getting stuck on one.
Option 3, again, was the convenience center. We talked about the changes to the site down being around $50,000. Again, we need to make sure enough space is available. Cameras are about $4,500, a compactor conversion about $5,500, parking and ramp installation in order to meet OSHA guidelines $35,000, fencing $2,500, ledger work $500. If there's not enough space, then of course there's additional costs, site work that will be needed. We did, of course, ask about swipe cards, keypads, buzzer systems. They ranged in prices from $2,000 to $4,500. However, the vendors that we contacted stated that these systems were not recommended for our application, that installation can be difficult, there's little customer support for product failure. It was also stated that these systems allow 24-hour access, which can then be abused, and over time, even under most controlled circumstances. The codes and the cards will be shared or lost, which will cause logistical concerns for the town. So in short, they were not recommending that type of system for us. The sanitation truck, again, $16,500 per year for 5 years. The bag system is included again. The convenience center changes for $50,000. And then the center operation, the cost would be offset by the revenue generated at the site. Alternative 4 was not to do anything different than what we're doing. That would be the $16,500 per year over a 5-year period. Staff is strongly recommending that we make changes to the convenience center, or what would be a convenience center, but the compactor site, due to safety and liability concerns. Again, we were just fortunate that we have not had more than a stub toe and a twisted ankle with people throwing garbage over top their heads. However, based on the success of the temporary plan, safety and liability concerns with public access to the existing site, we just don't see it as necessary to keep the site open to the public. It should be noted again that in general, ad valorem taxes pay for curbside collection, and that the compactor site was never intended to be used by residents and visitors as a convenience center. You can certainly expect under this scenario that the fees generated from the site will not be sufficient to pay for the annual cost of supporting the program, and that those, along with subsidizing sanitation services for non-residents, will certainly result in future tax rate increases. So that covers the alternatives. You have the stats there that you could take a look at, the data. We also had a summary of your August 11th meeting, which also had a summary of the group responses. And then we know this was not scientific, but we did a quick survey at the end of that meeting just to capture a snapshot of the people that attended that meeting. And so we have put those results in your packet as well.
You talked about alternative 1. Have we exhausted the pros and cons of alternative 1? I just wanted to follow up on a couple of things that were also mentioned at the August meeting to see and at the town hall workshop that we had on sanitation. Have you been able to have any talks with the college and the conference center to see about shared sanitation services?
Yes, we've contacted both as we were requested to do. We have tentatively a meeting set up for September 24th here at this building at 2 p.m.
Okay, is that open to the public, or is that just with the conference center and the college? And I'm fine either way, I'm just asking.
Staff will be present, so if you'd like to attend, you can. But again, it's just an opportunity for the college, the town, and the conference center to talk about sanitation.
And I believe, just so that we can sort of work through these are all fairly they're expensive options, all of them, and really are part of the thinking process of these major choices that are being talked about now will probably be affected in the fiscal year 2016, 2017. I mean, they're really not things that are in our budget for this fiscal year. So we're beginning a long process of starting these conversations. These are all big tax dollars that we're talking about here. So I'd sort of like to keep that up front and also think about what we can do short term as well, you know, that aren't as costly as we talk about these things. And one of the things that Commissioner Vincent mentioned at the last meeting is particularly since of the 650 so houses that we have here in Montreat, we have gone to have an increasing number of them are short-term rentals, and I think that this is not only for the summer season, but also for the entire year. And so I think some, probably 100 or so of the 650 houses we have in Montreat are now short-term rentals. So I think that as part of our conversation that we need to have as a community of understanding who we are and who we're servicing, and how we can get those who have rental incomes. And some of these homes, you know, some rent for $1,000 a week, some rent for over $3,000 a week. So it's a business. So we need to have that as part of the discussion and to see if there's some information that we can get from, I presume Graybeard would be the most logical one to see how they are thinking in these terms too, but they need to be part of the conversation.
Yeah, just before the time frame that we have the compactors for how long?
Right now, we are in our first year of a 2-year extension. And the truck, as you know, is on its last leg, and we need to start thinking about replacing it before next fiscal year.
I was going to follow up to what Commissioner Standard said, because I've spoke with Chip Craig at Graybeard Realty. He had written to us concerns at the beginning of the summer about the change in the use of the dumpsters, because his information that was placed in homes prior to this summer indicated to people that if they needed to have dispose of garbage in between pickups, that they could use the dumpsters. So I spoke with him at length today and asked him how it worked for him this summer. You're aware that he has dumpsters behind Graybeard Realty for the use of those persons who are customers of Graybeard Realty, so that they can take any time. They can get, well, like maybe 24 hours, I don't know, but they have access every day to dumpsters behind the business. He said that he's had to get an additional dumpster this summer and had additional hauls from his dumpsters. And that if we proceed next summer as we did this summer with the fees for payments, that what he was considering doing, this is no promise to you, but his consideration is that he would ask the homeowners whose houses he contracts to rent to provide access to a secure can for disposal of garbage, or they would pay a fee to him at Graybeard Realty, a Montreat garbage fee, for the use of the Graybeard Realty dumpsters by those persons who rent from Montreat. Chip believes that cameras have been a deterrent for him in the past from people from the outside, but that this summer, because the plans changed in Montreat, the persons who were renting from him ended up bringing their garbage to his, dumpsters. And I will say that as I've talked to people, it has been confirmed some about what Commissioner Standard said, that a number of people have said if you rent your home, it's a business, and part of your expense as a business and receiving income from your home is providing for sanitation and disposal of garbage. There's always something left on Saturday, even after a Friday pickup, and Saturday when they leave, they clean out the refrigerator and so forth. So there's always going to be some. The other concern that was expressed to me kind of related to this was seasonal and weekend use of homes, because we certainly have a lot of homeowners who enjoy coming for the weekend, for a long weekend, and they are not leaving necessarily on garbage day, or if they are, they may not be staying long enough to bring a can back to their house if they roll out a can or push a can to the street. And it seems like we don't seem to match their needs with our regular pickups on Monday or Monday and Friday. And that was a concern that a number of people expressed. At least one person did request Sunday garbage collection. That's something we've never offered in Montreat, but it would help that person, because when they leave on Sunday after the weekend, they like some place to put their garbage. In relation to that request, the keys, you reported that the idea of a key or a swipe card when you talk to the vendors, do they sell those systems that work outdoors? I understand this is not the inside of a hotel with a little thing you push down in, but you mentioned some difficulties with those products, and I wonder if it's possible that there is a product that could be used outdoors that would help that Sunday person or the weekend person, for example.
Yeah, it's not the system itself. You see them in the gated communities all the time. So there are outdoor systems. They just thought that this was the wrong application for that type of system.
I kind of like the system, the option 2 personally, because you still got the use of the bags. You've got the dumpster site open, or a site for people who are leaving on weekends if they purchase the bags to be able to put their trash and so forth. I know it's labor intensive, Steve. You use that many people. I was in manufacturing. The more times you touch a product, the more expensive it is. And I understand that. But at this point in time, as accustomed to this current system, as people are in this community, I would hate to see us change that drastically. The convenience of being able to, even if I had to purchase a bag, Ron, and put stuff in it if I'd forgotten or had an overflow or whatever and take it down there, or I was cleaning out, whatever, it sure would be convenient. So I like that. I like the versatility, Jack, of the truck, being able to pick up trash, leaves. It's also ground up materials that we use all the time when we use the grinder. I think it gives us a great deal more versatility, and that's why I prefer option 2 at this point in time. Maybe in the future we would go to a compactor, but right now I just prefer option 2.
Well, I agree with that, but I think everybody that rents their house should have a bear bag, and you can put it in any time. A lot of folks got them now. Some are wood, some are steel, some are not, and they seem to be working rather well if they're kept up. And I think that would help people like Graybeard and all. They wouldn't have to. They just have the people that rent their house, or the person that comes for a weekend. They got a place to put it. And a lot of them use their neighbors because they work together. People are going to help that way, but it's not an unusual thing to do, and certainly take the heavy stuff out, if you would. Like Sundays leaving, Saturday morning early leaving, and something like that. You got a box there that's stable, and they got one up, where you live on South Carolina and no wrong in there. You might have to figure out a way to dig a little better.
I've got one, so I'm fine.
Okay. Well,
my neighbors use it too right now.
Yeah. Well, Amen. I think that's a reasonable thing to do, is that. And if they want 3 or 4 houses to do it, so be it. And use that, but the truck needs to be more mobile, usable than we do just compacting. It's a lot of money for something that's going to sit idle for 3 days a week, and that doesn't work.
Well, let me just clarify that. We do not have a truck now that sits around when this truck that we're operating breaks. So we make do, and that's the same thing we would do with the compactor. We would probably likely change out one of our older trucks that's sitting there 4 days a week and use it, like the old dump truck or something, and use it, or trade it out and use a smaller step side or a flatter flatbed, I guess is what you call it. So I don't want y'all going away and thinking that we would need 2 trucks, because that's not necessarily what we do or what we need.
Well, I wasn't thinking about 2 compactors. I was thinking about
I realize that, but I think
one truck like we already have.
Right, but just
realize it need a backup, because it's the way we use our backup. Our backup of the old boys still work, but you don't know when it's going to break.
No, you don't, but you don't keep a truck around for just that one time that it does break. And, you know, certainly it would be July 4th when ours does break. So, you know, we've talked about that. We'd end up having to bring open top containers and getting them dumped, is what we would end up having to do. So there are ways to deal with that.
I think what we need to have, we have people who live here year-round, we have people who come in for weekend visits, we have people who have found this an incredible place to have investment properties, all of which are positive and all of which are realities. So we need to have enough flexibilities. And again, as we are going through this discussion, what each family will find is what works best for them. And as long as we have a compactor site, I think there needs to be some way of the community to access that, whether it be perhaps going to the bag system, or whether we have a staff time for people to bring it to perhaps more limited than we have right now, and it can change between summer and the winter schedules. It doesn't have to be the same year-round. And I know what has worked for us. We have been both residents who live here, obviously, and we have been people who had rental property here as well. And this was in the days when it was contracted out with Hamilton. So as we've had these discussions, and of those who remember the Hamilton contracting days, when garbage was often not picked up on the day it was supposed to be, we are moving into nuances. We have great garbage pickup on a routine basis. So we're discussing the future, fiscal year 2016. But at that point in time, we had 3 bear boxes at our home. And for people who don't like bear boxes, I completely understand that. And so we also chose to have backdoor service, so that these bear boxes were not out on the property right-of-ways. They were up next to the home. And quite frankly, when we were renting our house, it was a good investment. And so I think that that is part of the cost of rental property that you have in this town, and that's who we are. So I would like us to continue with, as long as we have a compactor site, if the decision is to go with it, you know, I think alternative 2 would have that. The bag system available, perhaps, or opening it up on a more limited basis. Always staffed. I do not ever see us going back to a time that it's, I don't like to use the term unmanned, but when it is not staffed, it is just not safe. So those are things I would like us to consider in our conversations.
I wanted to ask one thing as a clarification. When Commissioner Helms was talking, or when you were responding, your description of alternate 2 talks about the bags, and when people would bring the bags down, they would put them in, it says, in a fenced handling area opened by any staff member upon request. So this would not cover weekends. Is that correct? Or is there a way in this that would provide for weekend disposal?
No, that's correct. You'll see that would be staff at Town Services Building. And the next sentence says, thought is still